Welcome to Patriox Radio, where my goal is to create a space for thought-provoking discussions and meaningful conversations that inspires positive change and action. From personal growth and wellness to social justice and activism, and especially to environmental sustainability and conservation, I cover it all. I hope you enjoy your time listening in, so let's get on with this week's episode. I wanted to continue our discussion of what I'm using as my personal growth plan, my plan to progress as an individual trying to better himself. And I'm hoping along the way, as I map this out, it becomes a good framework and a good starting place for people to kind of build up from. Some things in my life may not be applicable to you. Some things in my life may be very similar to what you've experienced. I decided that this was an important thing for me to try to focus on because I made a few recent changes in my life that I feel are going to be for the better, and especially for the long term, will promote more of these things that I want, such as a healthier body, such as a more routine daily life. So that way I can also make these videos better, but I can also make just my overall daily life less stressful, and I can get more things done, and I can feel more satisfied with myself. There's a lot of things to it that I would like to change, and a lot of things that over the years I've come to identify. But at the same time, I keep coming back to this idea of like, what's the root cause of it? And I like to think it's habits. I like to think at a baseline, habits are kind of the main tool, if you will. It is the mechanism by which we can reinforce a lot of the change, because it is a passive action most of the time. It is a reaction to stimulus by which we can conduct our lives, and if we understand the mechanics behind it, we understand how it works, and we can identify what works with us and what doesn't, we can passively increase the betterment of our lives while we work actively to, like, whether it's studying or to cultivate better working environments or just a healthier garden, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that you wish to improve. I think getting to the bottom of habits and how they work is fundamental, So these things, in my opinion, can very much affect your mental state, your physical state, and your spiritual state. And being able to understand the role of habits can allow you to control or gain control of how you conduct your life and the effects you have on society and the planet. Habits are an integral part of our daily lives. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night, we engage in a multitude of habits that shape our behavior and define who we are. Some habits, such as brushing our teeth or washing our clothes and bed sheets, are essential for our well-being. Other habits, however, like smoking and overeating, may not serve us well and can hinder our progress and growth. Being mindful and aware of our habits is crucial for personal development and growth. And when we are mindful, we can recognize and begin to understand the ins and outs of a specific habit. From there, we can start and work to modify or eliminate unhelpful habits and cultivate new ones that will lead us towards our goals. Changing or forming new habits can still be a challenging task nonetheless. We may find ourselves slipping back into old habits and struggling to maintain new ones. It is important to be critical of ourselves when our habits really just do not serve us well, and to really persevere and define that motivation when challenges and change seem impossible. With persistence and self-reflection, we can gradually develop new habits that better ourselves and our lives. At the center of this, I think it is vital to understand how this works. How do habits form? What's the whole process behind it? Did some cursory research, and honestly, Wikipedia's got the easiest answer. They all say the same thing for the most part. So from Wikipedia, it says that the, well, I'm going to say this part real quick because I'm not going to read the whole paragraph. That on average, they found that the slow process of just trying to brute force building a habit can take anywhere from like 18 days to almost 2/3 of a year. And that's where you'll often hear the number that 65 to 66 days are what it takes to build a habit, because that's the average number between those. But you can build a habit in any number of days. And I personally believe that the fervence and perseverance is a big part of it, but I think there's a little bit more to it that I saw in here. So let's go ahead and read it. According to Wikipedia, there are three main components to habit formation: the context cue, behavioral repetition, and the reward. The context cue can be a prior action, time of day, location, or anything that triggers the habitual behavior. This could be anything that one's minds associate with that habit, and one will automatically let a habit come to the surface. The behavior is the actual habit that one exhibits, and the reward, such as a positive feeling, therefore continues the, quote, habit loop, unquote. A habit may initially be triggered by a goal, but over time that goal becomes less necessary and the habit becomes more automatic. Intermittent or uncertain rewards have been found to be particularly effective in promoting habit learning. I'm going to want to read a bit more on that one later. So to continue, a variety of digital tools, online or mobile games, or apps, have been introduced to that are designed to support habit formation. For example, Habitica is a system that uses gamification, implementing strategies found in video games to real-life tasks by adding rewards such as experience and gold. However, a review of such tools suggests that most are poorly designed with respect to theory and fail to support the development of automaticity. There we go. I couldn't say that word. Shopping habits are particularly vulnerable to change at, quote, major life moments, unquote, like graduation, marriage, the birth of a first child, moving to a new home, and divorce. Some stores use purchase data to try and detect these events and take advantage of the marketing opportunity. I think real quick, there have been many well-documented sources of or claims of stores like Target, Walmart doing this especially. I remember personally seeing videos of people who were tracking some of their data on Kroger and Target's like their online apps and stuff, and they were like tallying all the commercials that they were seeing later on and what the commercials were advertising, and you could see this trend. Now, this was years ago, so the fact that I still remember it is fucking crazy. But yeah, I think that they're still doing this today, and so it doesn't help that these companies are taking advantage of these habit formations, and it encourages you to keep shopping. It builds this passive mechanism within you to drive your shopping experience, to drive your buying experience, to drive your other bad habits. If you're a smoker or overeater, I have been both, I still overeat. These things are very critical, especially from somebody who has suffered from a lot of extreme depression in the past. Overeating has become one of those main mechanisms by which I have compensated with, and it is very unhealthy. And whenever I was still using a lot of social media, and it would track whenever I was in more depressive states, is whenever I would see more advertisements for things like Doritos and Mountain Dew, the cliche. But yes, I would see them all the time, and I still see a lot of these food advertisements, but I've been seeing them less and less, especially because I have done what I can to not be on social media or change a lot of the privacy data on the sites and the resources that I still do use. So I work very hard there, and so a lot of my advertisements have been very out there and very generic, and so it's allowed me to have a little bit more sense of control over that. But it took a lot of recognizing where these things were coming from, and it took a while to get there. But let's continue. Some habits are known as, quote, keystone habits, unquote, and these influence the formation of other habits. For example, identifying as the type of person who takes care of their body and is in the habit of exercising regularly can also influence eating better and using credit cards less. In business, safety can be a keystone habit that influences other habits that results in greater productivity. Um, there is a recent study by, I'm guessing, an Italian name that I cannot pronounce, but it's Wikipedia, so go look it up yourself. Uh, Found that habits mediate the relationship between self control and unhealthy snack consumption. The result of the study empirically demonstrated that high self control may influence the formation of habits and, in turn, affect behavior. So, we're going to leave it there on the Wikipedia, but because I think that that last bit is really fundamental to a large part of what I want this series to be is I want us to build a greater sense of self-control. And if we can do that, that becomes an integral mechanism for gaining control of habit formation. So if we can work down this path and allow ourselves to get better and allow ourselves the time to just reflect, look at all of our just automatic responses. Don't ask why. Don't question it. Don't overthink it. Just say, okay, this happened. I fell into this habit, and this was like how I felt or what I got out of it. Whatever. Um, they could be physical habits. They could be mental habits. They could. I like to think spiritual habits are your daily habits, the things that you will do throughout your day. So that includes just the sum of both your mental and physical. So we don't need to dissect that. But on this path, if we can maintain both, you do attain a better sense of harmony between these two elements of your body that alleviates the third. It allows your spiritual growth to happen because there is no physical or mental pressure holding you back. So let's keep it simple. Let's focus on our habits. I personally have identified some of my major habits, which have been overeating, like I said, and smoking in the past. I am not openly proud of the smoking because what I started with at first had been smoking cigarettes and smoking, if you're familiar with Kratom, K2, Fake Bake, any of that stuff, it was synthetic weed that was very available everywhere because for a while it wasn't something that was banned by the FDA, so you could find this at your corner store. And we would get high and we would get stupid. And then we became dependent on it whenever we didn't want to do anything because this is the formation of addiction. Addiction is a very nasty form of habit formation because of especially either the societal pressures or because of the chemical dependency that develops with physical substance. But addiction can be more than just physical substance. It just so happened to be that case with me. I wasn't a cutter. I wasn't somebody who physically took it out on myself like that. But I did a lot of drugs. And there are very few by which I'll still do freely today. I do currently try to smoke marijuana on a more healthy basis, since I will say in these past couple years to deal with my depression and anxiety, I have developed a bad dependency on it to try to alleviate that since I don't have access to any anti-anxiety meds or antidepressants, which for a long time I also rejected. I rejected those medications. But in trying to balance my habit and my habitual usage of this herb, I am trying to reestablish a relationship with it, in which case I'm probably going to step away for a little bit and stop smoking for a while and allow my body to probably detox for a couple weeks. In that period, I want to establish personally, and this is something I've been thinking about for a while, a more ritualistic approach to it where I'm only going to use this either once a day or I can use it heavily at certain things. And I'm going to train my body to not habitually grab for it every morning like I want to, or take it with me to work whenever I'm on my break or anything of that sort. I really want to develop a healthier relationship to promote more active approaches in my efforts with the things I want to do, such as with this podcast, which I am lucky to have been very consistent so far, as I have been very afraid that with forgiving the actual work I do have to do to keep my livelihood going, in the free time I do have, I have felt somewhat lackluster and tried to compensate, and this has not helped me, and I've recognized that. It has led to my lethargy and my apathy, and I need to reestablish this relationship and make it to where it helps me. I need to find ways to deal with this anxiety and depression until I can get such medication without succumbing to my laziness and my general lack of empathy whenever I heavily smoke all the time. So that is a very key thing for me. Luckily, I don't drink. Luckily, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, really. However, I will steal the occasional vape from a friend. I will never buy one, but I will steal one from my friend and take one light puff still. And so these are the things that I am trying to work on because they feel more manageable than the overeating. Because the overeating has been a long held problem for me, especially. I, for a long time, overate to compensate my depression whenever I was single digit ages. And it wasn't healthy, of course, but I was a big growing kid, so for a long time, I never got fat. And I think that was a big reason why it was never, like, stopped for me. Like controlling, like, my parents tried to control my eating like that. They never really did to a high degree other than not letting me do midnight snacks, because, I mean, that's reasonable. So, in dealing with this, it feels far more deeply rooted and harder to control. And it's one of those things that I've had to accept talking about medication and therapy as ways to try to gain an extra leverage on this, in which we'll probably engage in those conversations at a later point down this path. But with what's within my control, I do think that trying to manage what I can might give me enough extra leverage to manage the thing I currently cannot. I'm not trying to tell myself I cannot change this. I'm just telling myself I cannot do it yet. Let's make this more manageable and we'll come address it later. Because you have to be kind to yourself, and that's a lesson I'm not very good at right now. I know how to repeat it very well, but I don't know how to practice it. I don't know how to be nice to myself because, in all honesty, I still think of myself as a massive piece of shit a lot of the time. I still think of myself as an unproductive slob who's not going to get anywhere. Now, I know I have all the potential and drive within me to do so, and I have everyone on my side cheering me on, and yet I'm not there. And a lot of it is because of these things I willingly do and I willingly let in these habits to control my life in an unhealthy manner. And it has set me back in very unproductive ways. So even though I know now how to take care of it, I need to know how to follow through. I need to know how to really enact these positive changes. There is a book I bought forever ago on Amazon, a resource I'm lucky to have because I decided to buy it forever ago because it was a free book, or it was a book on a discount at the time. And it's literally about forming habits. I think it's like a very popular one. If I remember the cover correctly, it's like I just remember it being yellow, and it's one of those ones that I saw everywhere. So maybe a lot of productive people have bought the book. But I do remember a lot of it literally going through a researcher's notes as he's describing his studies over habits and how things worked in the various studies and sites and people he's interviewed and looked at, and how these changes really helped. And it expands insight, which is great. And I think it helps me as someone who wants to learn to feel motivated to keep going. However, I still need that final push to get things done. So that brings me to the changes that I have made, the things that I feel are going to help me. As someone who cares very much about the planet, I have always thought of ways to try to minimize my impact. And one of the biggest ones is how to not use my car. And so I got blessed recently with a good bike that runs very well. I don't really need to do anything, and I got all the lights and everything I need to do to make it street legal. I live right down the ways from work. It takes me 20 minutes to bike there. I can not only encourage better physical activity that can help me work on uh, my desire to overeat and my lacking desire to exercise, while also helping to minimize my carbon impact. And so this was one of the first things that I thought would be a massive win in my direction. And it is. It really is. Because I liked riding this bike. However, I was quickly reminded how out of shape I was the first time I rode it. But, I mean, it's fine. I can deal with it just fine. And I really think that the more I use it, the more likely I will to be able to follow through on, like, eating better. And, like, staying consistent on exercising regularly. I already keep it in an accessible spot, locked up. And the second I need it, I can just unlock it, get on it, and go. And so I've eliminated any excuse of saying, oh, but I have to lug it out of the house. Oh, I got to lug it off the rack. I put it in the ideal spot to make any excuse impossible. The only excuse I could accept is that it is raining, because I don't want to bike in the rain. And that's fair. I think nobody wants to bike in the rain. So, recognizing this advantage, I've been trying to identify some other things, and I'm trying to use an old little calendar that I had stopped using forever ago to kind of get backtrack onto my days and to my habits, because it was a great way for me to keep track of not only my working hours, but now that I have some interviews lined up for the future, spoiler alerts, I want to be able to keep track of everything, and I want to be able to identify a more routine schedule that I can form. How do I want my day to be broken up? How do I want to manage my sleep cycle? How do I want to manage my exercise? And how do I fit in the podcast? How do I fit in the research I do? How do I fit in the development I do? Because even though a lot of this still sounds the same, I've been doing a lot of work on the back end trying to find music and sound that I think will go great for this. And I hope that whenever I get settled on something, that it works well for the show. And so that way we can all have a better experience listening to this. I could go on forever and keep talking more about the little things here and there, but I hope that my personal experience, at least thus far, has given you some way to identify and start looking at yourself. Start that process of self-reflection, self-examination, and really just try to be more kind and more fair in your approach on how you do things for yourself. Recognize the little things that are either helpful or not, and recognize the things that would be most productive to helping you. Learn how to be kind and not just say, I have these outside things that need to get done. Those are my bigger priorities. Because if you do that, you run the risk of not recognizing when you need a break, when you are stressed out, when you are overworked or overdepressed, or whenever you just can't function and you don't know why. And so you beat yourself up more because you won't take the moment to be kind to yourself. You need to be slow. You need to let yourself grow. You need to be kind and you need to be patient. And I still think vitally, understanding the mechanics behind your habits will be the crucial tool to helping you gain a leverage ahead of other things. Now, we will discuss other things such as the focus of your body as a whole, which is going to be the whole point of our next step in the journey. But I want to expand from there later on and talk about easy things that we probably take for granted. These are things like hygiene. These are things like sleep management, diet and exercise. We're going to get through some annoying bits of things that everyone's told you everywhere before, but these are going to be crucial and fundamental, and I'm going to give you my personal experience. I'm going to give you my personal take on what's happened with me, because I'll tell you right now, my sleep cycle completely fucked, completely out of whack. I'm an insomniac that has not found a really stable cure, and my heavy reliance on my weed makes my sleep cycle even more erratic. It makes me unlikely to dream, as it shuts down certain parts of your brain or it doesn't shut down, but it's like it quiets and numbs certain parts of your brain, so you don't really go into REM sleep, so you feel more tired as, heavier usage goes on. And so it becomes counterproductive there. Diet and exercise, really easy. And so probably for those, I might just engage more with my experience up to that point, as I am trying now, as of this recording and upload, working to be more dedicated to these routines of a better diet and a better exercise routine. And I want to be able to say that I've been consistent when those episodes come. I want to be able to say that I took the time and really stuck to it, and I really focused on it, and this is the result. I will probably start the next episode with a weigh-in and let you guys know what I'm starting at and what I'm trying to work towards, as I have... Part of it's anxiety, but part of it is also I haven't actually shed all the water weight I feel I could shed yet to be able to get a true accurate weight, because I don't want the water weight on there because that falls off really easily. So I want to work on that and get to that point. I've been working on it yesterday and today, but I can retain a lot. I am a big plump boy, but I am growing in my self-esteem, at least, to be able to joke about it and be comfortable about it. So I want to use this as a journey for both of us. I want us to grow here, and I hope you can see this as encouragement in your corner, that someone's already started the path, he's showing you where he struggles, and I hope it gets you guys willing to start. Don't really have any more I want to add here, so let's just leave it. Let's have a nice, easy day. Let's have a nice, easy Sunday. Enjoy your days off for most of you. Most likely is. Remember that I love you, and remember, Mama Terra loves you all. Have a great one.
Tongue-tied in the rain, soaked to my toes, got the chills to the bone. Cold stare through the haze, shrill in my voice and my lungs swell with pain. Call me out by my name, speak to me soft, help me gather my thoughts. Drown it out, plug the drain. Turn the record over, it can't be over. Ah, 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 ah. Write me when you get there, to that better place where you can think straight. Send me love if you can. Manifest the best of your wildest fantasies. I hope you find what you need. Over the hills, sun sets in the trees, soak in the glorious rays. The sun will be out, beating down on your shoulders. Tie a rope round my waist as I venture into the dark. I'll be back by the time you finally know where you are. tear my ego apart. We are all we are, and we are all but one. Send me up to the stars. The distance between means nothing to me. Or bury me in the sand after I've done for you all that I can. I'll tell you what I knew, but I've got no concept of what I'll know. Leave a breadcrumb trail for the wind to blow apart. I am lost, but I found who I am. Now I know who we are. I'm lost, but I found who I am. Now I know who we are. I am lost, but